This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. Gemar Chasima Tova, our first year after the Yom HaKadosh. So, I want to speak about an inyan that's relevant to the Yom Tov of Sukkah that's coming up, Habalenu Tova, and I want to speak about a Lomdut subject, but it's also very much relevant, Halach L'maisa, and that is whether one can have a Gentile build their Sukkah, can one have a woman build their Sukkah, can one have their young kids build their Sukkah. This is a very important inyan in halacha, and it's a very relevant inyan. Okay, so simply put, there's a sugya Masechta Sukkah on Daf Chesam and Beis. The Gemara says like this: Tana Rabbanon Sukkah Ganvach, Gimel Nun Beis Chaf, so which is Sukkah's Goyim, the Sukkah of Gentiles that they make to live in it during the summer. Sukkah's Nashim, the Sukkah of women. Sukkah of women, what does it mean, the Sukkah of women? Women would weave in the Sukkah. Sukkah's Behema, Sukkah made for animals. Sukkah's Kusim, Sukkah of Kusim. Sukkah Mikamakim, Kshera. A Sukkah, any kind of Sukkah is kosher, Vavad Shetem Sukkachas Kilchasa. As long as it's roofed properly. My kilchasa amrav chizda v'hu she'asa l'tzel. As long as it's made for shade. Says Rashi, Hai kilchasa dekamar hu she'mesuchachas yafeh. It's roofed well. The muchacha milsa. It's obvious she'asiyasa rishana l'tzel, that its original making was for shade. V'loy l'tznias ba'alma, not just as a place to have for privacy. The question is, but a sukkah doesn't have to be lishma. Right? Sukkah, the afagav, the sukkah l'shem chag loy ba'inan, even though we hold that we don't need a sukkah lishma, we paskin like Beis Hillel, that sukkah yishana is kosher. That means a sukkah made 6 months before, with no intention of using it on sukkah, is kosher. So even though we paskin sukkah, Lishma loy ba'inan, l'shem sukkah ba'inan. It needs to be a sukkah. A sukkah means for shade, and not just a place to do something so that people don't see you. Okay? Uletzel hu demikaria sukkah, shesecheches min acharev. The definition of sukkah is something that provides shade, not something that provides privacy. Because the walls are not the sukkah, the schach is a sukkah. The Gemara seems to be saying very openly and very clearly that a sukkah made by a guy is kosher. And at this point, if I were to ask you, if a guy makes a sukkah, if I hire a guy to make a sukkah, I'm too lazy, or it's too hard for me, and I hire a guy, the Gemara says black and white, sukkah's ganvach is kshera. However, what I want to share with you is the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam in Masechta Gittin, on Daf Mem Hei Amud Beis, one of the most important Tosafos in Shas, and I blew it up for you. Okay? For your convenience. No extra charge. Tosafos quotes Rabbeinu Tam. The Gemara in Gittin says about the mitzvah of tefillin. Can a woman write tefillin? Say a woman soferet. Right? A sofer. A woman sofer. What's your name? My name is Shprinza Sofer. Oh, you're married to Sofer? You're from the Chassam Sofer? No, not that kind of Sofer. I'm a scribe, that kind.
The tefillin have to be written l'shma, and a woman can't.
Why not?
What?
Why can't she do it l'shma?
Sure, because she's not participate in the mitzvah.
So what? Why can't she do it l'shma? So the Gemara says a chiddush that since it says by tefillin, Ukshartam la'osayadecha, v'hayu l'toitafos b'neinecha, uchsavtam al mezuzos beisecha u'visharecha. It says you should tie, and then it says you should write. One who is obligated in tying is able to write. One who is not obligated in tying is not able to write. This is called kol sheyeshnoi b'kshira, yeshnoi b'ksiva. Anyone who is capable of tying is able to write. Anyone who is not capable of tying is not able to write. And therefore, the Gemara says a guy cannot write tefillin. A woman cannot write tefillin.
Should I write a Megillah?
No. But it's different Indian. So says the Gemara. What?
Rashi's daughter's worth
That was before the halacha that you're not allowed to. Woman is not allowed to wear tefillin. It's an isser. Yeah. It's Avera. It's in Shulchan Aruch. Yeah, the Ramah talks about it. Mikan oimer Rabbeinu Tam. From this Gemara, Rabbeinu Tam derived the following halacha: De'ein isha oigedes lulav. A woman cannot tie the lulav and esrog together. There's a halacha, lulav tzarech eged, that you have to bind the lulav with the hadassim and aravos. Well, what if a woman bound the three minim together? It's possible. Why? Kol sheyeshnoi bilakicha yeshnoi ba'agida. Rabbeinu Tam says, Rabbeinu Tam extrapolates, that just like by tefillin, only someone who's obligated in the mitzvah could create the chefza shel mitzvah. Likewise, sometimes, oh, honey, I don't have enough time. Put together my lulav and esrog. It's possible.
Everybody agrees with that?
It's possible.
Everyone agrees with that?
I'm reading Tosfos now. I'm not telling you what everybody. That's the sheet of Tosfos. It's possible. Yeah? Does everyone agree to it? We'll see. Va'oisa tzitzis. Could a woman make tzitzis? Nope, it's possible. Why? Kivan d'lei mifkada. She's not commanded to wear tzitzis. She's not commanded to take a lulav and esrog. She cannot make it, and she cannot put together the lulav, and she cannot make tzitzis. This is the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam. Presumably, then, according to Rabbeinu Tam, a woman cannot create any chefta shel mitzvah because she's not mechuyev in any asiyah, in any of the performance of the mitzvahs. So she cannot create them. She cannot make tefillin. She cannot make lulav and esrog, and she cannot make tzitzis. That's the opinion of Rabbeinu Tam. Same thing.
Oh, what?
What? So she's mechuyev in matzah, right? Yeah. Ve'inira, says Tosfos, Rabbeinu Tam is wrong. Why? Two questions are on Rabbeinu Tam. Question number one: the Hamid paslinam bereish hatcheles tzitzis ba'oved kechavim. The Darish b'nei Yisrael va'asu v'loy ba'oved kechavim meklal deisha keshera. It's a Gemara Menachos and Daf Mem Beis. Very important Gemara. The Gemara says they don't have that one either. The Gemara, right? The pasuk says we say this every day. Vayomer Hashem al Moshe Lemar, Daber el Bnei Yisrael v'asu lahem tzitzis. It says Bnei Yisrael v'asu. Says the Gemara Bnei Yisrael v'asu v'loy ba'ovdei kechavim. So it's a very interesting drasha. The Gemara darshans Bnei Yisrael v'asu v'loy Akum v'asu. So what would you? So ask Tosfos. That's mashma Bnei Yisrael v'loy Akum. But an Isha could make tzitzis. But according to Rabbeinu Tam, she's not mechuyev in tzitzis. How could she make it? So the Gemara is right up against Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam must be incorrect. Because the Gemara says, B'nei Yisrael v'asu v'lai akum. The Gemara should have said a better halacha. The Gemara, first of all, another thing is, we shouldn't have even needed a drasha. According to Rabbeinu Tam, I don't need a drasha that women are, that goyim are not allowed to make tzitzis. Of course goyim are not allowed to make tzitzis. They're not mechuyev in tzitzis. So what do I need a drasha for? Here, if you look in the Gemara in Menachos, the Gemara says, Amarav minayin letzitzis ba'oved kocham shibsula shenemar Dabra b'nei Yisrael v'asu tzitzis b'nei Yisrael yasu v'lo ivdei kocham yasu. So why do I need a drasha? Of course goyim can't make tzitzis. Goyim can't make tzitzis because they're kol sheyeshnoi b'kshira yeshnoi b'ksiva. That's question number one on Rabbeinu Tam. Question number two on Rabbeinu Tam. According to Rabbeinu Tam, can a woman build a sukkah? No, she's not chayiv in the mitzvah. But the Gemara says in Sukkah's ganvach kshera, that a sukkah made by a guy, a woman, for a behema, for a kusi is kshera. How could Rabbeinu Tam say that a woman cannot? The kol sheyeshna b'kshera yeshna b'kshera applies to other mitzvahs. It clearly does not apply to sukkah. V'amino nami sukkah's ganvach kshera parakam the sukkah. V'dafka So now, therefore, says Tosfos, Does anybody argue on Rabbeinu Tam? The question is, does anybody agree to Rabbeinu Tam? Tosfos brought two Gemaras in Shas that are openly against Rabbeinu Tam. Raya number one is the Gemara excludes a guy from Bnei Yisrael. That implies a woman could make tzitzis. Rabbeinu Tam would say a woman can't make tzitzis. And number two, the strongest question of all is the Gemara says openly the sukkah of a woman is kosher. Therefore, says Tosfos, in my opinion, the din of kosher yashna b'kshira yashna b'ksiva is limited to Sefer Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzahs, because it says ukshartem uchsavtem. So we have a drasha to say you need to be able to tie, to be able to write. But does it say anywhere v'yashavtem v'asisem by sukkah? No. Does it say anywhere v'lakachtem v'agadatem by lulav? No. Does it say anywhere v'lovshu v'yasu by tzitzis? No. So it's only where it says. Where it doesn't say, women would be allowed to, according to Tosfos, can a woman make a sukkah? Yeah. Can a woman put together a lulav? Yeah. Can a woman make tzitzis? Yeah. Furthermore, can a katan, what do you say about a katan? Can a katan build a sukkah? Can a katan make a lulav and esrog? Can a katan make tzitzis? Rabbeinu Tam would say, no, because they're not mechuyev. And Tosfos would say, why not? The only thing that they're excluded from are Sefer Torah, Tefillin, and Mezuzahs.
What about Rabbeinu Tam and lulav I can understand, but a sukkah afhein hayah mitzvah, right? They sat in the sukkah in the midbar, so why don't we say that for the sukkah part, they should have some hischayvus, but the lulav part, that's reserved for, and tzitzis I can understand, that's reserved for zcharim.
So, that's not a question on Rabbeinu Tam. That's a question in general. Because at the end of the day, are women chayiv in sukkah? They're not. They're not. In fact, Sfardim, they are not allowed to make a bracha. It's a bracha levatala. By Ashkenazim, they get a mitzvah if they do, but they're not obligated. So Tosfos throughout Shas asks, why are women pater from sukkah? Af hein hayu b'osayanis. Tosfos says, af hein hayu b'osayanis does not apply to mitzvahs d'oraisa. It only applies to mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, like Megillah and Ner Chanukah, but it doesn't apply to d'oraisas. No, women are chayiv matzah because since they're not to eat chametz, kol sheyeshnoi
They don't have to eat. They don't eat chametz. They don't have to eat matzah.
But since in the same pasuk it says don't eat chametz, eat matzah, we say anyone who's not to eat chametz has to eat matzah. There's a special drasha. But otherwise, so right now at this point in the shiur, if I were to ask you, can a woman build a sukkah? Can a woman take a lulav? Can a woman make tzitzis? Say it's a machlokes, Tosfos and Rabbeinu Tam, but Tosfos seems to have two Rabbeinu Tam in a chokehold. Number one, the Gemara clearly implies in Gemara Menachos that women could make tzitzis because it says only goyim can make tzitzis. And the strongest question of all is Sukkos ganvach kashera. That's the big kasha on Rabbeinu Tam.
Maybe Rabbeinu Tam would prefer that a woman can build a sukkah, a woman can make the tzitzis, but the man has to finish it off. In other words, she could be involved in the process.
She can't even look at it. She can't even think about it. No, she can't. No, according to Rabbeinu Tam, I'm joking, but she can't do anything. She can't. Okay, so now that we know what the machlokes rishonim is, how do we paskin? Okay, this is very important. So, interestingly, you have to go to Hilchos Tzitzis. So in Siman Yud Daled, in Orach Chaim, it's not on the sheet. It says, Tzitzis she'ason eino Yehudi pasol. You're good with that halacha? Yeah, it's Gemara, right? It's the Gemara Menachos on Daf Mem Beis. Why? Daber el b'nei Yisrael lafuke eni Yehudi. What about Isha? Isha kashera.
Bnei Yisrael.
Isha kashera. So the Shulchan Aruch is paskening like who? Like Rabbeinu Tam or like Tosfos? Tosfos. That Rabbeinu Tam is wrong. Basically, he's using that Gemara Menachos to show that Rabbeinu Tam is wrong. Haga, who's the Haga? Rama. V'yesh machmirin, there are those who are machmir lahatzrich anoshim sheyasu oisan, to require men to make it. V'toiv lasos ken lecharchila. Meaning, it sounds like the Rama has a problem with women making tzitzis. Who does the Rama seem to be going like? You would think it was going like Rabbeinu Tam. No. So, what does the Rama mean? Why? Because l'chayra, if he meant Rabbeinu Tam, why would he say there are those who are machmir? Wouldn't Rabbeinu Tam say,
Flat out.
it's not good, it's puzzle, right?
Not a chumrah, right.
Unless it's only a chumrah to be choishish for Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, but the Ramah is saying it's best not to let a woman make the tzitzis. Why? Says the Mishnah Berurah, because you could say that Mishum Dahaksiv B'nei Yisrael va'asu B'nei Yisrael v'lei B'nei Yisrael. So one second, is that Rabbeinu Tam? Did Rabbeinu Tam say that when the Gemara Menachos says Goyim can't make tzitzis, it's because B'nai Yisrael, and not only not Goyim, but not women either? That's not what Rabbeinu Tam said. Rabbeinu Tam said women can't make tzitzis because they can't tie it. Because they're not mechuyev to wear it. But Rabbeinu Tam never made the drasha, B'nai Yisrael v'lei B'nai Yisrael. So the Ramah is not learning like Rabbeinu Tam. The Ramah has a different problem with tzitzis. What's the Ramah's problem with tzitzis? So the Ramah is quoting, I believe, the Maram, quoted in the Hagois Maimonides, that there is a drasha in general. Kimat, every time in the Torah it says B'nai Yisrael, we always exclude B'nai Yisrael. There's a Gemara in Kedushin on Daf Lamed Vav, that the Gemara goes through all the B'nai Yisraels, and it always excludes women. So, you know what this Mishnah Berurah is saying? That even though the Pashup shot in the... What was the Tosfos' kasha on Rabbeinu Tam? Tosfos' kasha on Rabbeinu Tam was, how could you say that women are now to make tzitzis, but the Gemara in Menachos says that it only excludes Goyim, it doesn't exclude women? So, some Rishonim say it doesn't exclude women. It means Goyim and women also. It goes without saying women are excluded, because every time it says B'nai Yisrael, we always exclude women. Look in the Gemara in Kedushin. The Gemara in Kedushin says that when it says B'nai Yisrael, it always excludes B'nai Yisrael. So really, the Ramah, who says that we should be machmer, that women should not make tzitzis, is it like Rabbeinu Tam? No. Meaning the Ramah who says women should not make tzitzis, the Ramah is not passing like Rabbeinu Tam. The Ramah is saying women should not make tzitzis for a different reason. That there's... It's not that one I turned off. Oh, I guess not. Again, let's make it clear here. Yeah, just turn it off.
Stop.
Okay. Again, let's try to get it clear. The Mechaber says that a goy cannot make tzitzis, but women can make tzitzis. That's clearly not like Rabbeinu Tam. But now the Ramah comes and says that you should be machmer not to let women wear tzitzis. So we might have said the Ramah is being choshesh for the shita Rabbeinu Tam, but the Mishnah Berurah says clearly that's not pshat in the Ramah. The Ramah has a very specific reason why women cannot make tzitzis, and that's because the pasuk of Daber el B'nai Yisrael, even though the Gemara Menachos says it only refers to Goyim, we would say it refers to women also. It could also refer to women. Okay? It could also refer to women.
Do we verify that whenever it says B'nai Yisrael, only talking about women?
Yeah, that's...
Cases where
Yeah, I don't know that they're not going to say that I'm expert in every single time, but the Gemara in Kedushin goes through many B'nai Yisraels and excludes B'nai Yisrael. Let's see. This Gemara they have.
I mean, how else would you would Hashem tell Moshe to include everybody? And what lashon is it where if you have a mitzvah that includes women and men? Okay, Shabbos.
Ish imay v'aviv tiro, or ish v'isha. Let's see. The Gemara says like this. The Gemara in Kedushin says... Let's see if we can find it. Okay, you ready for this? Hasmichois, hatnufois, hagashois, kmitzois, haktarois, malikois, kabalois, hazois, noyagim ba'anoshim, v'loy b'noshim. Smichos uchsiv, daber el b'nei Yisrael v'samach. tenufais, dabais alvahenif. Hagashais, hakrivas b'nei Aaron v'nei b'noisan. Kmitzais b'nei Aaron v'nei b'noisan. Haktaras v'duas b'nei Aaron v'nei b'noisan. Hamlikais. So here the Gemara makes many drashas, either b'nei Yisrael or b'nei Aaron v'nei Yisrael v'nei b'nei Aaron. So be it as it may, not the Mechaber argues on Rabbeinu Tam, and the Ramah, according to the way the Mishnah Berurah learns Ramah, is not like Rabbeinu Tam. However, comes the Bir Halacha. Okay, ready? Yeah, the Bir Halacha is the Chavetz Chaim. Says the Bir Halacha. So again, at the end of the day, can a woman make tzitzis? According to the Mechaber, yes, and according to the Ramah, lechatchila, not. If she did, sounds like you could wear it. What about a katan?
Same thing. Yeah.
According to everyone, it should be good. No, it wouldn't be the same thing. According to Mechaber, even a woman could make tzitzis, so certainly katan. And the Ramah, the way we're learning the Ramah, the problem is because it says B'nai Yisrael, we're going to darshan v'loi B'nai Yisrael. We're not going to darshan v'loi Ketanim. Ketanim are B'nai Yisrael. So basically, according to the way we're learning the Mechaber Ramah, women, if they made tzitzis, it would be kosher b'di'evet, and children could make tzitzis l'chadchila. Male children. Yes. Boys. Comes the Bir Halacha, and he says, the reasoning that we're saying that the Ramah is machmir by women is the reasoning of the Maram Bro and the Hagos Maimonides. Says the Bir Halacha, but isn't there another way to learn the Ramah? Can you learn the Ramah that the reason why women should not make tzitzis is because of Rabbeinu Tam? Maybe that's Pshan the Ramah. Yeah, but
then why does he use the Lashon Chumrah? According to Rabbeinu,
and
flat out that.
True, but then maybe, right, I said before, because then the Ramah was saying, even if we don't paskin like him, you should just be choishish for that shita and not lecharchila have him do it. But maybe that's pshan in the Rabbeinu Tam. Like the Magen Avram says, the Magen Avram learns that's pshan in the Ramah. But the Mishnah Berurah doesn't learn the Ramah that way. And then it would come out, listen carefully, that Ketanim can make tzitzis. And then you know what else it would come out? A tremendous nafkamina. Because if pshat in the Ramah, why women can't make tzitzis is because we have a drasha b'nei Yisrael v'loi b'nei Yisrael. A woman could be ma'aged a lulav. A woman would be able to put together a sukkah. But if the pshat in the Ramah is that we're going to say women can't make tzitzis because they're not chayiv in tzitzis, and therefore they can't make tzitzis, then it would come out a woman can't make a lulav and esrog, and she can't build the sukkah either. Says the Mishnah Berurah, and if we're going to learn the Ramah that way, it would be a nafkamina for all the other mitzvahs. Number one, the reason I didn't learn that way is the Darkei Moshe, that's Ramah himself, is mashma that he's not choshish Rabbeinu Tam. However, the Pri Megadim and the Derech HaChaim say, L'chadchila, you should not have a katan make tzitzis. Why? Why in the world should a katan not make tzitzis l'chadchila? He's a gadol. Excuse me. He's b'nei Yisrael. The only reason why is because not bar chiva. So what? He's not a bar chiva, but he can make it. It must be because we're choshish Rabbeinu Tam. That means the Pri Megadim is choshish Rabbeinu Tam. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Roi v'nachayin, that a katan should not make tzitzis. Roi v'nachayin, that a woman cannot build a sukkah. Roi v'nachayin, that a woman cannot put together a lulav and esrog. Why? Because we're choshish Rabbeinu Tam. That's not pshat. In other words, it's not the Magen Avram. In other words, it's not Pashut Pshat in the Ramah. Pashut Pshat in the Ramah, why a woman can't make tzitzis, is because of the drasha of B'nai Yisrael, V'loi B'nai Yisrael. But there are those who learn the Ramah differently, namely the Magen Avram. The Magen Avram learns the Ramah because of Rabbeinu Tam, and therefore, l'chadchila, one should be choishesh for Rabbeinu Tam. That's it. So that's the chumrah of the Mishnah Berurah. By the way, the Bikurei Yaakov, who's the Aruch Laner, he says, L'chatchila, you should be choshish for the shita of Rabbeinu Tam.
But he would acknowledge that the a woman can do it, right?
Yes.
Can you differentiate with nice sukkah? Is that where a woman is also like a kila, she shouldn't be involved in nice sukkah?
No, nice sukkah she could do. Nice sukkah we could do. We're talking about the schach. Only the schach. Okay. So I mean, now the Bikurei Yaakov says lechatchila, a woman cannot build a sukkah and not make your lulav an esrog or a katan as well. So there are two very big nafkaminas. One nafkamina is katan. Could a katan build a sukkah? Can a katan put together lulav and esrog? Lechatchila, not according to the Bikurei Yaakov, according to the Bir Halacha, according to Reb Shlomo Kluger as well, and the Shevet Halevi as well. Paskins to say that one should be choishesh lechatchila for the shita of Rabbeinu Tam. So the question is, what's Rabbeinu Tam going to do with our Gemara? The Gemara says Sukkah's ganvach is kshera. So how's Rabbeinu Tam going to answer Sukkah's ganvach? That's the big question on Rabbeinu Tam. You see, Tosfos has two questions on Rabbeinu Tam. Question number one is, but the Gemara in Menachos says the sukkah of a guy, the Gemara in Menachos says the tzitzis of a guy are pasul, b'nei Yisrael v'lei Akum, but that's mashma that a woman could make tzitzis. That's one kasha on Rabbeinu Tam. But that kasha is not such a strong kasha, because that kasha you could wiggle out very easily. The Rabbeinu Tam would say the Gemara means b'nei Yisrael v'lei Akum, and also a female not. Of course, it means both.
Double dip.
But the second kasha is the whopper. Second kasha is Rabbeinu Tam would say a woman can't build a sukkah. The Gemara, the most famous Gemara is Sukkah's ganvach kshera. A woman could build a sukkah.
Sukkah's what?
Ganvach, goy, nashim, behema, kusi.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily get the word out that those four are grouped together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah? But Sukkah's ganvach is kshera. So what's Rabbeinu Tam going to do with that? So what I want to share with you is three approaches how Rabbeinu Tam is going to wiggle out of this Gemara of Sukkah's ganvach. And according to one of these approaches, it's going to come out a tremendous kula. So you ready for this? So Rabbeinu Tam says, Kol sheyeshnai b'kshira, yeshnai b'ksiva applies to lulav and esrog, applies to sukkah, and applies to tzitzis. Answer number one is Rabbi Yaakov Emden. Rabbi Yaakov Emden learns that when the Gemara says the sukkah of a woman is kosher, it doesn't mean built by a woman. It means made for a woman. Haga ba'atzmecha. One of the cases is sukkahs behema. The Gemara means a sukkah built by a behema. It means a sukkah built for a behema. What does that mean? You want to make a hut for a behema, not to protect them.
The original intent for use.
Who it was made for. It was made. Right.
You can't take that pen and now convert it to a sukkah.
No, you can't.
You could, because it was made for shade. It was made for shade. It doesn't have to be made for sukkahs, even if it was made for a behema. It doesn't have to be made for sukkahs, even if you want to give your wife a nice place to weave and you made her a hut, it works. But not if she built it. If she built it, Rabbeinu Tam would say, since she's not mechuyev in the mitzvah, she can't create a chefza shel mitzvah. What the Gemara means, it was built for her. If it was built for her, it's kshera. Not if she built it. If it was built for her.
Why would you have to have a meaning that it would be possible?
Why? Because it wasn't built for the Yom Tif. It was built for a secular purpose.
Shade, but we said before.
That's the chiddush. That anytime it's built for shade, even though it's not built l'shem mitzvah, it's kosher. Okay, that's how Rabbi Yaakov Emden learns. One question you can ask on that is, if you remember the sugya in Sukkah, the Gemara says not only is Sukkah's Rav kosher, another 4 different types of Sukkahs, but Sukkah's ganvach is also kosher. And the Gemara says, what's the added chiddush of Sukkah's ganvach? The added chiddush is, even though it was built by Eino Bar Chiyuva. So the Gemara says explicitly, not that it was built for, it was built by. Gemara says, "V'hai Tana de Ravkish Alima le Ravkish de Bnei Chiyuvin in Avatana." Okay.
I mean, the lashon of the.
But the truth is, Rabbi Yaakov Emden himself deals with that question. I'm not going to get into that now. That's the first approach of Rabbi Yaakov Emden. I'm going to tell you the Chasam Sofer and tell you Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe has an incredill approach. Chassam Sofer says like this. Chassam Sofer says that Rabbeinu Tam would agree that a sukkah is built by a woman is kshera. He says she can't make tzitzis. He says she can't write a Sefer Torah. That's because Sefer Torah needs lishma. So since it needs lishma and you need a higher level, if she's an Eina Bar Chiyuva, then she cannot create lishma. Tzitzis needs lishma. So since it needs lishma, so she's not a Bar Chiyuva, she can't create lishma. But sukkah doesn't need lishma, so a woman could build a sukkah. Now comes Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe makes two incredible observations on Tosfos. Let's look back. The reason I blew up the Tosfos is you'll see the greatness of Rav Moshe. Rav Moshe paskins lemaisa that even Rabbeinu Tam holds that if a woman built a sukkah, it's kosher l'charchila. Why? And a katan. Why? Says Tosfos, the Gemara in Gittin is talking about Sifrei Torah and mezuzos. Mikan oimer Rabbeinu Tam de'ein isha oigedes lulav v'yoise tzitzis. If a woman can write a Sefer Torah, tefillin and mezuzos, because she's not chayiv in tying it, so she's not chayiv in, so she can't write it. So a woman can't put together a lulav. A woman can't make tzitzis. Hey, wait a second. Why didn't Tosfos say Mikan oimer Rabbeinu Tam that a woman can't build a sukkah? Why did Tosfos leave out? Why does Tosfos only quoting Rabbeinu Tam that she can't make a lulav and she can't make tzitzis? He should have said and she can't build a sukkah. Why doesn't Tosfos say that Rabbeinu Tam holds all three mitzvahs are possible? Why does he only quote two of them? You know why? Because Rabbeinu Tam only said it by lulav. He only said it by tzitzis. He didn't say it by sukkah. That's the first diak. Second diak.
So what would Reb Moshe say?
Okay, we're gonna see. You're gonna hear.
Why did he not say it?
You're gonna hear. Number two. Tosfos says two kashas are Rabbeinu Tam. One is the Gemara Menachos says a woman can't make tzitzis. A guy can't make tzitzis. Mashma, a guy can't make tzitzis, but a woman can. That's question number one, which is a very weak question. That's a kasha. We could always wiggle out that the Gemara means a guy can't make it and a woman. And then Tosfos says, oh yeah, right, and I have another question. The other question is what? The Gemara says a woman could build a sukkah. That's your second question? That's the question that's the biggest stronghold of all. Yeah, why didn't Tosfos ask it right off the bat? Rabbeinu Tam says a woman cannot build a sukkah. The Gemara says a woman could build a sukkah. So why is Tosfos reserving it as a second question? You know why? Because Tosfos knows that really Rabbeinu Tam holds that a woman could build a sukkah. But he holds she can't make a lulav and she can't make tzitzis. Listen to Rav Moshe's incredible svara. This is unbelievable. If tzitzis are puzzle, what are they?
Nothing.
If tzitzis are puzzle, what are they?
Just a piece of cloth.
Nothing, right? No. Tzitzis have no reality and no mashmois whatsoever. They're completely meaningless. Tzitzis have no meaning unless they're a chefza shel mitzvah. Right? They have no meaning whatsoever. So therefore, since a woman is not chayiv in the mitzvah of tzitzis, she can't make tzitzis. What's a lulav? You have a palm branch, you have a myrtle, you have willows. What is it if it's not a lulav?
It's still a lulav.
It's Purim spiel. It's ridiculous. No, what's that combination? Nothing. It's like you need to be committed. Pal, why are you shaking herbs in your synagogue? What in the world are you doing? Have you lost it? If this is not Daled Minim, then you're Meshugana. What are you doing? So what you basically have to do is take three random species and create it into Chefza Shel Mitzvah. Since a woman is not mechuyev in the mitzvah, she's not able to do that. But what's a sukkah if it's not a kosher sukkah? It's a sukkah. It's a hut. It's a hut. I mean, that's why we don't do it in Nissan, because people would say we're going out to enjoy the weather. Many people have porches, porticos, antechambers in the backyard. A sukkah has a reality even if it's not a chefza shel mitzvah. Therefore, Rabbeinu Tam, says Rav Moshe, does not apply to sukkah. When it comes to Sukkah, even Rabbeinu Tam would say the Sukkah is good. So it would come out that even the Achronim who say that we should be Machmer L'Charchila like Rabbeinu Tam, that's perhaps only by Tzitzis and Lulav. But by Sukkah, Rav Moshe has a tremendous kula that Rabbeinu Tam would agree that a goy could build your Sukkah L'Charchila, and a katan could build your Sukkah L'Charchila, and the woman could build a Sukkah L'Charchila. Now there is a psak of Rabbi Yasha. Now, so what should you do? Because the Bir Halacha clearly argues on Rav Moshe. The Bir Halacha extends it to the Bir Halacha.
They all agree with the evidence that it's okay, right? They all say
right. Nobody.
Says,
We don't paskin.
You can't sit in the sukkah that a woman built and make a bracha. Nobody says that.
Correct. At the very most, it's only l'charchila, right? But the question is, are we choshesh for that l'charchila by sukkah? So the Bir Halacha says you should be. The Bikurei Yaakov says you should. The Rosh Hashanah says you should. Rav Moshe would say Rabbeinu Tam. No, Rav Moshe is saying even more. If you were the son of Rabbeinu Tam and you paskin like Rabbeinu Tam,
have your wife make the sukkah.
Rabbeinu Tam's wife could build the sukkah for him, right?
Yeah.
Rashi's granddaughter could have built the sukkah for Rabbeinu Tam. That's the chiddush of Rav Moshe. Okay, now there is a svara though that Rabbi Yashav has and other achronim have, that when a goy builds a sukkah, it might be even possible b'diavad. And that is because the Gemara says at the very least it has to be built for shade. It doesn't have to be built l'shem mitzvah, but it has to be built for shade. Says Rabbi Yashav, when a goy builds a sukkah for you, he's not building it for shade. He's building it for
money.
For money, or whatever your ritual thing is. Here, I'm making it. He doesn't think he's doing it to provide you comfort from the sun. So it might even be worse if a guy does it. And in fact, Rabbi Yashiv says,
you move the schach at the end,
Okay, but I'm saying if you don't do that, Rabbi Yashiv says not only is it not good l'charchila, it could be pasul. And the same thing would then be. No, that would be by a guy, by a katan and a woman. Then the question is whether it's a pram l'chadchila or not. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we will break over here. Right back in a few minutes. Shkayach.
Wow.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.